Hello, you're listening to Random Sage with Maryann from Revealing Light. Thank you for tuning in. I didn't record last week. I'm pretty busy as the year winds to a close, and I start to prepare for a little bit of time off in January. I am going away also from next week for a few days, and so yeah, I've just been trying to get everything done. But I wanted to jump on today and talk about my experiences with the butterflies in the last little while. I've never seen so many around me. In Australia, we have the monarch butterfly, and they are everywhere. When I go for my morning rides on my e-bike, they are just dancing and playing all around me. When I met up with friends for a Christmas cuppa, an exchange of gifts in the veteran club in the region that I live in. It's called the Soldiers Club. They have open doors, and the butterflies were flying into the club, and then they were then stuck on the glass walls or the glass doors, the glass windows that overlooked the park, and they couldn't get out. And so I managed to interrupt my coffee or cup of tea and get a few of them on my finger and open the door to the balcony on the club and allow them to fly out. But there was one or two that I couldn't get because they were so high up. And I became quite sad that this was happening, because butterflies don't live that long. The average butterfly will only be alive for 2 weeks. And so if you've ever watched the butterflies dance and weave in the wind, in the breeze, it's a joyousness that they possess. And they kept coming back. The ones that I'd liberated kept coming back to land where their friend was stuck, as if to say, come on, come with us. But the butterfly couldn't, because they were still stuck behind the pane of glass. And I mentioned it to the cafe attendee in the club. She actually looked at me like I was stark raving mad and said, "We can't do anything about it. They can't. When the sliding doors, when the automatic doors open, they fly in. They fly in, and we can't do anything about it." And she just kind of looked at me and off she went. And I thought, well, actually, I can. I just did. Why can't you? Silly thing, isn't it? But I am really drawn to the fragility of life at this time. And I spoke about a paradigm shift in my last podcast. And I think I do have a feeling that things are going to change in 2024. I hope that things will change in 2024, and the proliferation of butterflies tell me, like a sign from spirit, not to give up hope, and that change could be on its way. As many of you know, I've been absolutely heartbroken, and you can understand why. Heartbroken of what is going on in the Middle East. I don't take sides. I get annoyed when people trying to speak for one side or speak for the other side. To me, it's very, very simple. And that is peace, not bloodshed, not the killing of the beautiful, precious, innocent lives that we're seeing unfolding in the Middle East at this time. And it's caused a fairly, I would say, toxic. It's like, how can I describe it? There's so many views that people are trying to ram down people's throats over this. that people can't seem to agree on anything much at all. So I look for those people who have one message, and that is around peace, around humanitarian ceasefires, around bringing those hostages home, around bringing Hamas to justice, and really getting to the truth of why this occurred in the first place. In this very moment now, I do not want anyone else to suffer or die. And I think all of you can be in that present moment as well. I know my viewers are. But people are afraid of calling for peace in case they will be accused of being anti-this or anti-that or supporting terrorism. And I shake my head when I read these things, and I just go, what is it about that child who is murdered by Hamas, or that child that is bombed by Netanyahu and shakes with the shock of a missing limb, or being taken away from his or her parents? What is it about that that stops you understanding that the only way that we can move forward is through peace and justice? The butterflies remind me of that fragility of life, but also the beauty of life. When my mother passed away in 2010, yes, and I'm back to wearing her, I guess it's a talisman, I don't know, amulet that I bought when she died. It's just a heart with the word mum written on it. I'm back to wearing that. I've taken my cross off. I felt I needed that after I needed to wear that, and now I no longer need to wear it. But when my mother passed, I was so distraught that when I was at my lowest, I had my window open at my work, and masses of butterflies flew through the window. And I called my boss in and I said, please, I want someone to witness this. This wasn't 1, 2, or 3 butterflies flying through a small window space of my office. This was 10, 15, 20 butterflies streaming through my window. And so every time that was my mother's calling card saying, I'm here. And don't give up hope. Everything is going to be okay. And so now I'm seeing all these butterflies around me at a time that I have been heartbroken, jaded, cynical, angry, sad. And I see all these butterflies. And then I find on Twitter a Jewish man who tweets. He's called the Idealist. And he just fills my heart up with joy when he talks about, at one point, there was a telephone service, a phone service for Palestinians and Jews in the Middle East to call and really talk about their problems. And what a wonderful service that was. And he wonders what happened to it. I had another viewer email me, and he said, by December, there will be many sides flipping and switching. The left will become right, the right will become left. And I kind of dismissed him. I thought, okay. However, I saw a Trump supporter, or, a conservative supporter. And he said, I don't know why we can't get to ceasefire. I'm not a supporter of I always, want to, if there's a war that needs to be fought, if there's a battle that needs to be fought, go in and do it. But on this now, I can't see why there is not a ceasefire or humanitarian pauses or protection of why the hundreds, even daily, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of lives that are being lost still, when the US has warned Israel. Now the US is dialing up its rhetoric, or not rhetoric, dialing up its warnings to Israel, and they want to see some evidence that proportionality, that civilian lives are being protected. And the only indicator of that really will be when the death toll of the innocent people stop rising in the amounts, when we don't see carpet bombing of residential areas, businesses, when we don't see what is before our eyes. So if you want to be restored in this terrible time, go and seek out the Idealist on Twitter, a Jewish man. He remembers the sacredness of all life. I remember the sacredness of all life. So much ugliness, so much terror, so many agendas. So many unanswered questions. Putin visited Saudi Arabia. I think it was last week. He hosted the Ayatollah, the head of Iran, in Russia. There are reports that Wagner mercenaries, Russia's Wagner mercenaries trained Hamas. There are still other reports that Hamas has been infiltrated. Those Hamas terrorists that brutally mowed down Israelis had hallmarks of ISIS within them. Where was Netanyahu in the hours after the attack? Hasn't explained where he was. Why did he miss? Why did he ignore the warnings? So many unanswered questions. So much truth will be exposed in the coming months. But for now, all we need to remember today to be on the right side of this, is the sacredness of all life. That is a beginning and an end in itself, the sacredness of all life. And so that's what we should be remembering. Doesn't matter who we're talking about or what situation we're talking about. It all boils down to protecting the sanctity and the sacredness of all life. So let's ask, if we can, will there be peace in the Middle East in 2024? In timelines that I've done before, and they've been correct so far, humanitarian pauses in November. No, there was no ceasefire in December. It kept going and through into January. But by February, March, there was ceasefire. Will there be peace in the Middle East in 2024? I would like peace today, yesterday. Will there be peace in the Middle East in 2024? Will there be peace in the Middle East in 2024? Will there be peace in the Middle East in 2024? The Ace of Wands, yes, absolutely. And let's not forget that the UN resolution not only called for humanitarian ceasefire, This is the part that many just allow to fall off and don't mention. It called for the immediate release of hostages. The immediate release of hostages. And international law would bring Hamas terrorists to justice, anyone who's committed war crimes, which they have. New starts, the Ace of Wands. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. The scale of destruction and death and suffering means the peace in 2024 in the Middle East is inevitable. Have the Empress card as the foundation of this reading. These are all yes cards, by the way. Judgment card is clarifying the yes card, the Ace of Wands. The Empress at the foundation. Fertility, motherhood, a season of time, a building back, change, inevitable change. Things will not be the same after this is finished. The Chariot means that things in the past, the Chariot is the quick movement here. The Chariot is in danger of getting out of control. It's a roller coaster ride. We have the Hermit in the sky when the last bomb is dropped, when the last hostage is freed, when the world rakes over the ashes of the destruction in Gaza. There will need to be a time of review and reflection, because we've not stopped to do that. It speaks to isolation, review, introspection. You get the Seven of Swords. There's going to be lies uncovered along the way. So be careful. Be careful of defending those who have secrets too much, because lies and deceit will be uncovered. And we're not too far away from that in the new year. The Five of Wands in the here and now. Tell me about it. Partisanship, a tug of war, fighting against each other. And we have strength. I like that. Maybe that's where the butterflies bring hope in. The strength card is here in the environment around here, around this situation. There's a freeing of the whale from the net, and the whale is able to move on up and breach. That is happening now. The King of Cups in the hopes and fears, maturity. Maturity, emotional maturity. The Two of Pentacles, decisions need to be made. Some will survive, some will not. This is a high wire act, but a decision will be made nevertheless. The Three of Pentacles, many coming together to build and rebuild. Unity is needed. And it's a small step, that Ace of Wands. It's a small step forward in 2024. But we do actually have a new beginning and change in the Middle East in 2024. The underlying energy at the base of the pack, the Hanged Man, we are all being challenged to see things in a new way, to respond in a new way. The Nine of Pentacles, money. The Queen of Wands, she holds the Ace of Wands, passion, motivation, moving forward, loss, those left out in the cold. Many are homeless. Many are going to be homeless. And the truth of what has occurred will be revealed. Will be revealed. We have huge revelations coming up on what happened in the Middle East and why. And that is a part of this paradigm shift, is to face the truth and find new ways of responding to old destructive patterns. All right, that's the podcast for this week. Thank you for tuning in. I'll do one more podcast before Christmas. I found it hard to celebrate when so many are suffering. However, I will endeavour to, when I go on my trip, perhaps to do one more pre-Christmas podcast before I close down season 1 of Random Sage, and I'll be back in February for season 2 of Random Sage. So one more before I go on holidays in January, and then season 2 of Random Sage in February. Thank you. This is a new endeavour for me. Thank you very much for supporting this. And I look forward to maybe chatting next week about Christmas plans, holiday plans, and getting the most. Perhaps we ask the question: how do we get the most joy in life, out of life? What are the sort of things that we need to do to experience that joy and happiness that we will find, regardless of the state and the troubles of our world? We will find that in the simple joy of living, the sacredness and fragility of life, yes, but also the beauty and the joy of living in the moment. All right, thank you for tuning in, and bye for now. You're listening to Random Sage with Maryann from Revealing Light.